Good afternoon, students. Today our topic for lecture is kinesics, or it is also called body language. Can we have the opening remarks? Who is supposed to give the opening remarks today? And I'll give a description of what we are going to do today is kinesics, simply meaning body language. We're actually going to deal with the non-verbal aspects of communication. Communication can be oral, written, or that's the verbal part where you communicate through words. Now, this part, what will happen?
दो नंबर आप लिख दीजिएगा, 2 नंबर पूनम देवी और 1 नंबर लालवा देवी.
You are requested to keep your mic mute. So this is a non-verbal aspect of communication. This is a non-verbal part of communication. So here we'll be discussing about how you can communicate without words. You don't have to use words, and yet you can tell people something. So the technical term for it is the technical term is kinesics. You have to remember the term. There are different parts of kinesics that we'll be studying in this session. We have already discussed in the process of communication that there's a usage of a common set of words. Why a common set of words? The reason being you should be able to communicate in such a way that whatever you wish to communicate is understood by the receiver, and the message is understood in the way which you want them to understand. Words are a powerful way of communicating things, but along with the words, there is a component of non-verbal communication, or a component of language which is called non-verbal. It is without using words you communicate. Now, it could be in any language possible. The symbol can be there in any language. Why are they essential? Because sometimes words often fail to convey the exact meaning, and therefore we require certain things to accompany the word so that the actual meaning is understood. If you take the simple example of the word apple, APPLE, apple. Now, everybody would have different understanding of the word. If I just simply say apple, some of us can imagine a fruit, that she's talking about a fruit which is particularly found in red color. Some of you might think of a brand. Others might think more specifically within the brand, what kind. Let's say Apple is the name of a company which produces computers, iPads, laptops, mobile phones, etc. So that is why you have to accompany with a picture, or you have to tell that by apple I mean this. Right? I'm talking about the fruit. I'm not talking about the gadget. And that's why this is where non-verbal communication comes into the picture. to help us communicate exactly what we wish to communicate. Technically, it is called kinesics, and simply it is known as body language. Kind of way in which your body reacts to certain things, and you can uh, involuntarily certain movement come. That's body language. The study of the messages which are conveyed by body movements is known as body language or kinesics. That's the definition. Uh, Remember that the body would give movements implied to the emotion and the thoughts in our mind. There's a deep connection between our emotions and the way a body would react. Why, let's say if you feel sad, automatically your face will lose its shine, or you're very happy, you'll have a twinkle in the eye, you'll be smiling for no reason, things like that happen. Let's say you are sitting in a class and you are asked, have you understood? So you nod your head with a yes or no. That is because whether you have understood or not, that your mind will give you a reaction, and you will be told about it. So you'll be informed about things. If your mind accepts that you have understood it, you will nod a yes. If you have not, you will say a no, and you will ask the question. Right? So different parts of the body play significant role in communication, uh, and it communicates a different kind of a message. Even the nodding of the head would communicate other kind of a message. Right? So there are different roles. Right? Let's start from the head. So hold your head high is a old saying. Now, holding your head high is actually a sign of honor, self respect, and confidence. If you are confident, you know you'll look straight, your head would be high, you look into the eyes of the person. Usually, a head bent low shows modesty, polite, or guilt, depending on the situation. If you are nodding your head from up and down, up and down, that is vertically, it shows a positive response that okay, you have understood. While if you're nodding your head from side to side, that's horizontally, it is actually a negative response to the speaker. That's like the way I said, have you understood? If you nod it up and down, it's yes. If you nod it from side to side, it's a no. Right? So that's what the head movement would signify. Now, after the head comes your face, the facial expression. So the face is called the mirror of the mind, because whenever you feel something or you have a thought, the first immediate reaction would come on your face. Like if you are surprised, your eyes become bigger, your eyebrows are raised, etc. Right? The face as a whole indicates a lot about the human moods. Uh, they can be specific emotional states which happen. Like you are very happy, so you are smiling, the eyes are quite big, bright, you are happy about things. And if you are sad, you have a frown on your face, you are not happy about stuff, you are angry about things, so that will be shown on your face with the movement of different parts of your face. The way you uh, use your face, the way you use your face uh, can also display your confidence. right? The one who is confident, whatever the question is asked, the person is ready to answer it. They don't look away from the crowd. They would look straight with the crowd, and they'd be confident enough that you can see from the face itself. The face is bright and shiny when you have confidence. If you have fear, you, the lines of fear are seen on your forehead. The forehead becomes a little frowny. You can see that this person is afraid of something. You can actually see it on the person's forehead. Right? So on and so forth. Whatever kind of emotion that you are feeling at that particular moment, your face would always express it. So, is this statement true or false? You can type in the chat box. Body movements of a person. I think there's a hand raised by Shubham. Yes, Shubham.
No, no, Mrs. It's by mistakenly.
Okay, no problem. I thought you had a question to ask. No problem. So, this is a statement where you have to say a true or false. You can drop your answers in the chat box. Body movements of a person are directed by his thoughts and feelings. So, what do you think? Is the statement correct or not? Very good. You have given the correct answer that body movements are directed by a person's thoughts and emotions. We have already seen that automatically your body will react to what you think. Sometimes we speak out of the blue. We think that whether we have spoken correct or not, but sometimes it's just a reciprocation of your feelings that you have. So next we have is the eye contact. Eye contact. So we had the head, the facial expression, and then now we come to the eye contact part. The way your face is a picture of the mind, your eyes are those windows that happen. So when you peep into somebody's eyes, you can understand what is happening and how is it happening, right? So eyes cannot lie. You can see in the person's eye the respect for somebody you feel. Uh, you're very angry with somebody, your eyes will redden up. So these are the small events that happen, and we can see these events happening. So it is said that eyes take up different positions in different situations. Let's say uh, you are surprised, or rather you are shocked. So what will happen is your eyes will become bigger than usual, or you are paying attention to something, you are having a concentration or something, your eyes will get fixed on it. That means you'll look at the things with a long gaze. You'll try and see things.
हमारे से देर को बता दो
Right, so in those cases your eyes will take up different positions. people who want to communicate that you are confident would maintain eye contact. If you see people who are good presenters, those are the people who will maintain good eye contact with the audience. So your eyes would also reflect, uh, the eye contact that you have with others will reflect your confidence on it. If you lose eye contact, people are most likely to not take uh, the things that you speak seriously, right? So let's say in case of eye contact, if you take up dancing, especially classical dancing, uh, most of us would not understand the words, but we know that the dancer is narrating a story. How do we know? You can see that when the dancer wants to express a feeling of fear, the eyes have a different way of looking, and when the dancer is trying to express the emotion of sadness or sorrow, the eyes would be different. Now, this eye context is highly influenced by culture. It has a direct relationship with culture. Every culture will have a different uh, message passing through the eye contact. Let's say in India, we would be looking down when we talk to somebody respectable or somebody elderly in age. So, for us, it is a sign of respect. Whereas in Western culture, it would mean that you are guilty of something or you are shameful about something. So the frequency and duration of eye contact depends on a person's cultural background as well, right? So there could be a different meaning in different cultures about how you look into people, how you have an eye contact with people. If you take up public speaking and presentation, eye contact is of vital importance. It actually is a bridge between the person who is presenting, that's the presenter, and the people who are listening, that's the audience. Eye contact is a bridge. Why? Because when the speaker looks into the eyes of the audience, he connects with the audience, and once he connects with the audience, he has an idea about how things are going. You can actually get to know from the behavior of the audience whether the presenter should continue or whether he or she should cut the presentation short. That's why eye contact is important. Let's take a simple example. When teaching in the class, your teachers do not turn towards the blackboard all the time. For some time, when they want to write something on the whiteboard or they want to talk about a particular
Nama mo.
So when your teacher wants to talk about something particular, he or she would turn towards the whiteboard or the PowerPoint that he or she is showing, but then would again come back and look towards the class. So most of the time, yes, Kenil, you have raised a hand.
Ma'am, sorry, by mistake.
Okay. So they'll be looking towards you when they're teaching so that they can connect, because sometimes our eyes, when they are confused also, we can see in the eye of a person that he's feeling a little confused. So do I need to repeat this topic or so? So that's why maintaining an eye contact is very important in terms of passing your message or whatever information you have in the most effective way. Your eyes would enhance, the look in your eyes would enhance your conversation or your communication and your presentation and deliver whatever you want to say in a more effective manner. Right. uh, It is one of the most powerful tools of communicating. It can actually make your message, the oral message, more better. So we have one more question with us. An effective presenter is the one who can't manage the eye contact with all the members in the audience. What do you think? Is the statement true or false? Yes, the statement is false. You're absolutely correct. Effective, as we mentioned, that you have to maintain eye contact so that the presentation becomes more effective. So one of the qualities of an effective presenter is that he or she makes or manages to make eye contact with the members in the audience. Now I here understand that you don't have to manage or make eye contact with everybody at the same time, but we make sure that we have eye contact with people at regular intervals of time. Just like I'll give an example that we have been having or we have experienced is in the classroom. Teachers really do not make eye contact with everybody at the same time, but within a regular interval of time, eye contact is made between the teachers and the student. So now this next portion of body language is gestures. It is pronounced as gestures. Gestures are actually the movement of your torso, that is the upper part of your body, basically your neck, your head, your hands, etc. Now the hand movement is really important, because when we are explaining any PowerPoint, if you have taken examples of explanations where people make PowerPoint presentations, we can see the hand movement move so that we can look at the we can see the hand movement of the presenter so that he or she can lay emphasis on the line, or he or she can grasp the attention of the audience at a particular point of time, right? There are various different kinds of hand movements that happen, and each hand movement has a different meaning to convey in a different context. Let's say if you raise a finger, your first finger of your hand. If we are playing the game of cricket, it's a symbol that the person is out, right? If you raise the palms of both your hands in terms of cricket, it would be conveying a six that is hit. In the classroom, if you raise your hand with your palm, your one hand, it means you want to ask a question. So gesture at the appropriate place, every gesture is different with uh, the context in which it is made. Let's say a thumbs up sign would mean very well done or very good, or it can also mean that best of luck, right? There are two meanings to it depending on the situation. So when my friend wants to do a presentation, is about to start a presentation, I'll give a thumbs up sign, best of luck, you will do good. Now after my friend has finished doing the presentation and I give a thumbs up sign, it means you have done very well, it was very nice. The same gesture of the hand with two different meanings. That is why gestures have meanings according to the situation or according to the incident that is happening. Right? So you can write this example of a thumbs up sign where before giving a presentation, when I give a thumbs up to my friend, I'm wishing him or her luck for the presentation. You know, you are hoping that the person will do well. After the presentation, the same thumbs up sign which I give to my friend, which means you have done very well, it was very good, right? uh, we have one more example about the direction that a traffic policeman gives on the crossroad. He does not shout, he does not speak. Maybe little whistle he will have, and he will blow his whistle, but most of the times he will use his arms and his fingers to give directions. So which side goes first, which side comes after, right? Another example that we can have here is the mudras, or the movement of the hands and the fingers, uh, forming different hand formations to tell different things. In dance forms like Kathakali and Bharatanatyam, these are gestures which have, as I said, in context, uh, different meanings that come from it. The most appropriate example at this juncture would be using of gestures by deaf people. They communicate. So, like us, we speak long sentences. They would gesture each other about a long sentence. So they'll make use of their hands and fingers to construct an entire sentence and communicate it to the other person. Right? That is why hand movements and appropriate hand movements at appropriate time are very important. They'll actually make your message either highly effective or highly ineffective. So proper usage of gestures is what is expected to make communication more effective. In public speaking or public speeches or in presentations, uh, gestures play an important role, a crucial role. If you do not move your hands at all and you just speak, your presentation at one point of time becomes monotonous and boring. Moderate hand movements make your presentation or your speech lively. It feels as if you are actually very interested in the speech and you are trying to connect with the audience and make the audience also interested in your speech. If you just speak without moving, no expression on the face, no hands moving, you just say it like a robot, people feel that you are forced to give this public speech or presentation and you are really not interested about whatever you are talking. You're just talking because you are asked to talk about it. So these gestures would add a little flair to your speeches, to your presentations, and would also draw the attention of the audience, because it shows this appropriate hand gestures would show that you are very much interested into whatever topic you are speaking on. Then we have got posture. Posture actually is the way we sit, we stand, or we walk. Appropriate posture is what is expected. So if you are just walking around with slumped shoulders, or you know you're walking really slow or too fast, things would have a different message. You are too slow means you are really not interested, you are dragging yourself, you've been forced to go somewhere. Walking really fast is you are not interested but you want to quickly get rid of the thing, right? Let's say your posture would also display your confidence, your interest or your lack of interest in any conversation or in any communication. Let's say it's a very simple posture that our body would always make is when we are very interested, we would lean forward. Now we'll join our hands and on the bench and we'll lean forward to listen. So when we come into such a position, it means you are interested. As I said, body language is, we have already gone through the statement that body language is actually associated with the thoughts that you have and the emotions that you feel. So sometimes involuntarily, that's a reaction that the body gives, that you are very interested, so you lean forward. Sometimes you lose interest, so you'll lean away or you'll slump, you look at the clock in the classroom after every few seconds. So these all things display that you are losing your interest, right? So we're not saying that you should have a rigid posture. You could have a relaxed posture, but it should reflect confidence. The way you walk or the way you sit would always reflect the confidence that you have at that particular instant of time, right? And now, why is a posture important for us? uh, if you take interviews, the interviews that you are going to give for your job interviews, before you start speaking, your body starts speaking for you, right? At times we don't want to give a negative impression, but uh, because of not being aware about what position your body, when you sit in a particular kind of a position, what your body would convey to the other person in terms of body language, we might unknowingly send a wrong signal in the interview, maybe in the meetings, or in any kind of formal or informal communication or conversation we have with somebody. So that is why it is really important to practice and be aware about how we sit, stand, and walk, right? Because it will convey some message, and we do not want the message to be uh, giving a negative impression to the other person, right? So it is very necessary for communicators, and if you see successful communicators, they also make an effective use of appropriate body language, which enhances their presentation. So this is our topic for today. The title of the topic is kinesics. It is simply termed as body language. Sometimes before we start speaking, it's the body that starts giving the signals, that is whether the person is confident or not, is prepared or not. Sometimes when somebody gives presentations, we can actually make out from the way the person behaves that he or she is not prepared today, or he or she uh, is not that confident or lacks little knowledge. How do we know? From the way the person's body reacts. You are nervous, you are fumbling, you don't want to look at the audience. When the audience says question and answer, we want to ask a question, you don't want to answer the question, you avoid it, and by avoiding eye contact with the audience. So this is how the audience comes to know that you are not well prepared for whatever is happening right away. So do we have any questions or any doubts? If you have a doubt, you can drop your doubt in the chat box. So we are clear about it, right? There's a ritual. We have our quiz for this session. So I'll paste the link of the quiz here in the chat box, and we can start having the quiz. Yes, Bhavik, I see a raised hand. Just a minute, I'll paste. The quiz here, the link of the quiz. You can start attempting the quiz for this session. I have shared the link for the quiz. You can start attempting the quiz now. So you can look at your quiz. We'll wait a few more minutes for your classmates to complete the test. If you have any doubts, you can still ask. See, almost everyone has completed. We'll wait 2 to 3 more minutes. If somebody is pending, can submit the test, the quiz. Then we'll continue. Excellent. I can see we have almost we're done with the quiz for this topic. So for the next session, our topic would be I'm typing the vocabulary as well as the topic. I'll speak as well as I'll type for in case you want to have a spelling check. So because the words are quite new, that's why. So for the next session, the vocabulary words are, you can make a note of it. So the very first word is proxemics. The next word is the intimate zone, personal zone, social zone, and public zone. The next vocabulary on the list is paralinguistic feature, paralinguistic feature. The next word is pace or rate. The next term or the keyword is quality. After that, we have the word called volume. And the last word in the list is pronunciation. So these are the 10 keywords or the list of vocabulary for the next session. I'll repeat it once again. Proxemics, intimate zone, personal zone, social zone, public zone, paralinguistic feature, pace or rate, quality, volume, and pronunciation. So these are the keywords for the next session that we are going to have. Now it's time for the attendance. I'll call out your enrollment number, the last few digits. So you can type a yes in the chat box. 18 series, number 14. I'm taking the attendance. Kindly type a yes in the chat box. Dharmesh. Yes. 19 series 1, Jaideep. So Jaideep is absent. 19 series 2, Meet. 19 series 3, Gaurav. 19 series 4, Divyaraj. 19 series 5 Viraj Sanghvi. 19 series 6 Shubham. 19 series 7 Pratap. 19 series 8 Abhinav Kumar Jha. 19 series 9 Anish Raj Yadav. 19 series 10 Kenil. 19 series 11 Kush.
Yes, ma'am.
19 series
Ma'am.
12 Bhavik. Yes. Yes.
No.
19 series 13 Bhumi. 19 series 14 Chandan. 19 series 15 Deepak. 19 series 16 Priyanka. 19 series 17 Belaluddin. 19 series 18 Shamshad Alam. 19 series 19 Mohammad Arif. 19 series 21 Rajan Kumar. 22 Samir Ahmed. And 23 Jaideep. I'll just repeat the absent numbers so that if you have missed your roll call, you can give it over here. So 19 series I'm speaking, roll number 1, roll number 5, roll number 8, roll number 9, 18, 19. These are the absent numbers for today's lecture. Fine. So in the next lecture, please come prepared with this 10 vocabulary words that have been given to you. And I've already uploaded the syllabus. Kindly look into the syllabus. There's a list of book given for book review. Book review is actually your assignment, which will give you 10 marks. So you're supposed to select any one book from that list of books that is given, and on the next lecture you're supposed to tell me which book you want to review. Will not allow people to repeat or take the same title. So if, say for example, roll number 1 selects book number 1 in the list, then nobody else can take book 1. There's enough books in the list for which we can do book review. Do not worry, you're just supposed to first select the book. I'll not be asking you to submit anything right away. You're just supposed to select the book and be prepared with it, because book review means you are supposed to read the book. Right? So already the syllabus has been updated in the e-content of the portal. Kindly look into the syllabus and find a book for yourself. Thank you, class. That is it for today.